Ladies, gentlemen, welcome. How you doing? Trying a different intro. I don't think I'm going to keep it. I don't like it. I do like greeting you, but that was uncomfortable and not natural at all. But now that you're here, we can get going. So today I have a first impressions video of an Extrema Ratio knife from Italy. Very, very unique. And that's why I wanted to do a first impressions video. I actually got this a couple days ago. I did already start using it, but just some light work around the house. First thing I do is cut some paper. It does come nice and sharp. Cut a little bit of cardboard. Still sharp, totally fine. However, this is touted as a survival knife, if need be. And I want to test it. Like, this is a very, very, very hard to use knife. That's how it is built. That's how I feel it will work. So we're gonna get out and I'm gonna do other testing outside, like some woodwork and some real survival type stuff, you know, get fire going with it. I'm really gonna beat on this thing. So I'm doing my first impressions now. Maybe you'll see some videos on some rough testing with it eventually, once it's beat up and I have plenty of use on it. Then I'll do a review on it, all right? But if you haven't seen this one before, thing's a beast, okay? Look at this thing in my hands. It doesn't even look like a knife. I don't even know what it looks like. Very, very unique, very interesting. By the way, the 185 degree RAO, that refers to a specific Italian Special Forces unit. I don't know what it is offhand. I don't remember. Even if I did have it written down to look at, I can't pronounce it because it's Italian. But I know it translates to Target Acquisition Regiment. You can read all about it online, but it's a very specific unit of people who acquire these larger targets, long distance, and they get up there and do what they got to do, all their special forces stuff. But pretty interesting, and this is something that they actually carry. I don't know, I don't hang out with them. It's just what I read online. A lot of Extrema Ratio knives are built specifically for different Italian, servicemen and servicewomen. So I have never been there. Couldn't tell you that for a fact, but that's what it says all over the internets. And sometimes you have to just take someone's word for it, right? So if you know an Italian Special Forces person, ask them what's in their pocket and then you'll know for sure. But anyway, this is supposedly, allegedly, their survival knife. So we're going to definitely put it through its paces and see what it can handle. So first off, this is how it came. Huge sheath. Came in a bag. It's got some paperwork in there. Let's put that off to the side. Well, actually, you can see RAO. This is the black one. All right. Let's look at the sheath. You can see it's just a massive sheath. Nice straps on here. There's like a separate, thicker material. You can see how thick that is. In fact, I think the actual sheath weighs like 4 or 5 ounces, something like that. Has a little clasp on the front. This does come with the diamond sharpener, all right, which is actually, sometimes when knives come with their own little sharpeners, it's kind of gimmicky. They're usually pretty cheap. I do really like these. This will definitely put an edge on your knife very quickly, a very usable edge. Being that this is touted as a survival knife, this is kind of an important thing to have with that, which is pretty cool. So there's a specific dedicated pocket for that in the front, and there's your pocket in the back. I can tell you that it is a little difficult. Oops, I think it goes in this way. A little difficult to get it in and out. Hold on a second, let me move this strap out of the way. That's not helping anything. I put it in and out of the sheath about 4 or 5 times now, and it's not super easy or quick to do that. All right, but it does fit in there just fine. So let's pop this bad boy back out of here. Put the sheath off to the side, so we'll need that right now. And we're gonna talk about this knife. So first thing you might notice is this strap. All right, it's like a lanyard. It's a bungee, stretchy bungee cord. And it is attached to, looks like a grenade pin. So there's a little split ring and there's a little bolt in there. And this actually screws into the frame. Okay, this keeps this knife shut, but more importantly, it keeps it open as well. So we're gonna unscrew this. And by the way, I'm showing you this, how it is now, because I'm gonna take this strap off. This is not something that I'm personally gonna use. I'm going to, untie it, because I'll save it as it is. I'm not gonna ruin it or anything. But I'm gonna take just this pin and keep the pin in the knife without the strap. All right, so once that pin is undone, you open your knife. There's an interesting locking mechanism, almost like an axis lock, but instead of up and down, it goes left and right. All right, so you see that slides over. This locks up incredibly well. There is no play in any direction whatsoever. But the idea with that pin is that you would screw this back in, and that actually blocks the blade from closing. So even if this crazy strong lock did fail, there's no way for this blade to close on you. All right, so this does, essentially turn this folder into a fixed blade when you're using it. And like I said, being a survival knife and built for that purpose, they're talking about chopping and processing wood and stuff, so I'm not going to treat this very lightly at all. It is a very expensive knife. It's always, a little tear, rolls down the cheek when you're scratching up and beating up an expensive knife for most people. But I really want to see, what it's capable of. It is an expensive knife. These are pretty consistently sold for exactly $396.75. All right, so essentially it's a $400 knife. And for $400, you want to make sure it's going to work. Of course, some people just buy these and put them in their collection, and they look cool, and they're very interesting. There's nothing quite like this. There's similar type designs, but, if you wanted this knife, that's the price tag. The steel on here is a Bowler N690. Again, very consistent with the company. Also just very consistent steel outside the US. It's very available. I think it's Rockwell to like 58 or something, so it's a little bit on the softer side. For survival, that's not a bad thing. All right, it's not just like a high-end pocket knife you're going to be opening envelopes with. Having a much harder, brittle steel could be a downside when you're talking about processing wood and doing some outdoor survival type chores. As far as some quick specs on here, you can see it's a big knife. All right, 4.7 inches on the blade. Closed is 5.5 inches. All right, and that makes it 10.2 inches overall in the open position. All right, we're back. I got out of focus there for a second. The thickness on the blade there is 0.23 inches. Okay, so it's a fairly thick blade. You can see it does have a swedge on there, but it's not sharpened. The top portion of this very unique stubby pointed blade is in fact sharpened. It doesn't feel sharp, it just happens to come to, an edge. So it's technically sharpened, but you're not going to be slicing any paper or anything with that. It does have a blunt tip on purpose, so that there's very little to snap off, okay? The wider that, you literally can see the tip is like this, okay? Most times if you have some kind of a sharp angled tanto blade or something similar, it's usually a pointy, right? The tip is pointy. That's usually how that works, but this is such a wide angle, it makes it very, very strong and durable, so it's very unlikely that this would actually snap the tip off. But we'll see. This secondary point is a little bit thinner, so you might not break this off, but I am going to stab into a tree and, pry my way out and stuff. It's always possible that this point breaks off. But anyway, we have a nice long straight edge. Like I said, it is very sharp out of the box, slices paper very nicely. Just really unique. Very, very interesting. You can see with the Extrema Ratio models, they always have this cutout here. Very consistent with pretty much all their knives. It's kind of a trademark type thing. They also mimic that across onto the blade. So it is a very unique ground blade. All right, you can see the logo is on the back there, on the bottom, made in Italy. And on the front, that I believe maybe is the logo for that particular unit in Italy. Now, although this looks kind of chunky and blocky and weird, by the way, aluminum handle scales, I don't know if I mentioned that before. So full aluminum, fully enclosed back as well. It's surprisingly comfortable. This thing is super, super heavy, okay? I don't know if I mentioned it or not because I went out of focus there, kind of forgot what I was talking about. But this weighs 12 ounces, 12. All right, so usually people think a 6-ounce folder is kind of heavy. Well, try carrying 2 of them. That's what this is, a 12-ounce knife. In the sheath, it is over 17 ounces. Okay, now you're talking about, basically carrying a small gun. A very small gun, but albeit a gun. So, yeah, it's obviously chunky, it's heavy, it's very, very unique. Now, what's interesting, too, is that they have these 2 figure trolls down towards the bottom, and they look kind of just randomly placed and uncomfortable. but it actually works out very nicely. The aluminum is rounded, all right, it's chamfered on the side here, and my fingers do fit in those grooves very nicely, you know. So there's jimping on the top here. It's actually, even though it's super deep, it has sharp edges. It's very purposeful, but with my hand, my thumb doesn't land there naturally. With a regular grip on here, you can see I'm literally just touching the first cutout. All right, if I choke up on it, yeah, I could feel it here, but then my fingers are a little bit offset. Not as comfortable, but still very doable. I wouldn't do this necessarily unless I'm just using the bottom portion here, like, you know, whittling something or chiseling or whatever. But yeah, I mean, just with a natural grip, it is quite comfortable. So anyway, I am very excited to get out and start testing this. So like I said, this cord, which by the way, when it's open, I didn't show this to you. The first thing I realized is that as I'm screwing this down, I'm twisting this bungee cord. All right, so what I do is I'm rotating it a couple times in the opposite direction to twist it up that way, so that when I put it in and lock it down, I'm basically putting it back. All right, this way the cord is not all twisted up once it's in. All right, so I'm just screwing this down. There you go, it's tight position. This acts as kind of a hand guard, not a hand guard, but it almost just kind of locks your hand in there. If you pull on this tab on the back, it kind of stays because the cord is a little bit thicker than the lanyard hole that's on there. All right, so obviously it would just help keep the knife in the hand a little bit. Totally unnecessary. I mean, if you want to use it like that, you certainly can, but to me, it just kind of gets in the way. So I am going to, like I said before, remove this completely, but I'll definitely keep the pin in. But again, as you can see, once that pin is screwed in, this cannot unlock. Even if you engage the lock to unlock it, it can't close. There's that tiny bit of movement as it moves forward and rests up against that pin, but it's not going to close. All right. The lock itself seems pretty darn strong, so even without that pin in there, I don't think you'd have a problem. But I'm telling you, I'm gonna really whack on this thing and see if anything loosens up or breaks. But yeah, so interesting. Let me know what you think down below. But this should definitely, it should be a fun one. So anyway, I'm pretty excited to get out and start testing. Believe it or not, it is pouring out right now, and it's supposed to be raining for the next couple days. It's also very, very cold. It's almost freezing. I definitely foresee some snow soon, and right now it's like 35 degrees out or something, but the nights are dropping, below freezing. I want to kind of get out there and test this knife doing some woodwork before it gets too cold, because once you start, getting where winter is here and you have consistent, freezing nights, that wood, that's out in the woods and stuff, the branches and all the things that I'm chopping on and hacking at, that freezes up. And when that gets extra hard, it's more abuse for this blade. I do think that because the blade's a little bit more on the softer side, it's not going to be as much of an issue. I don't foresee me coming across any frozen logs or anything. But it's also harder to test stuff when it's cold out. Physically for me, the person actually testing the stuff, it's more uncomfortable in very cold weather or very hot weather. Obviously on a beautiful spring day, it's going to be a lot more fun and easier to test knives. But this one definitely needs to see some hard use to get a good, strong opinion on what I think of it. But my initial impressions, I am very impressed. It's an expensive knife. That's never impressive to me. It's always a downside when something's expensive because less people get to try it. But I do think that it is unique for certain, and I have no doubts that it's going to be pretty darn tough. But I won't know until I actually try it. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, if you have this knife, let me know what you think of yours. Do you use it? Is it just part of the collection? But it's fascinating. Like it or don't like it, it's definitely unique. So that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video. Take care.